The terrifying moment. I realized my own daughter had become my father's violent ghost. What is the exact moment, the exact second, you realize you've raised a monster? I spent my entire life running away from the shadow of my old man. He was a handshaker in public and a wall breaker at home. I promised myself when I had my daughter Maya, things would be different. Our home was built on respect, on kindness, or so I thought. Maya is 21 now. She's a straight A student, popular, the kind of girl who gets likes on every photo. She's dating this kid, Leo. He's a quiet kid, a scholarship student, works 2 jobs just to keep his beat-up Honda on the road. He's been coming over for Sunday dinners for a year. I loved him. He was like the son I never had. But last Friday, Leo showed up at my workshop. He wasn't wearing his usual smile. He was wearing a heavy hoodie, pulled low, in 90-degree heat. He was shaking. His hands were trembling so hard he could barely hold his keys. When he finally looked up, my heart stopped. His jaw was swollen so bad he couldn't even speak. His left eye, it was a deep, sickly shade of plum. It was swollen shut. I felt that old, familiar coldness crawl up my spine, the kind I hadn't felt since I was 10 years old, hiding under my bed. I asked him, Leo, son, look at me. Who did this to you? He didn't say a word. He just pulled out his phone and played a voice memo. It was Maya. My Maya. I heard my daughter's voice, but it wasn't her. It was him. It was my father's sneer. The same venom. The same look what you made me do entitlement. She wasn't just yelling. She was enjoying it. I heard the sound of a slap, then a heavy thud, and then her voice, cold as ice, telling him he was nothing without her. Leo whispered that this was the 3rd time. He was ashamed. A guy getting pushed around by his girlfriend? In his head, he was weak. He couldn't tell his friends. He couldn't tell the cops. So he came to me. I told him to go to the guest room, lock the door, and rest. I told him he was safe. Then I called Maya. I kept my voice steady. I told her I fixed the transmission on her car and she needed to come pick it up before the shop closed. She rolled into the driveway an hour later, looking like absolute sunshine. She hopped out of her SUV, humming a song, smelling like expensive perfume. I looked at her knuckles as she reached for her keys. They were slightly raw, red, scabbed over. How's Leo doing? I asked, leaning against my workbench. She didn't even flinch. She didn't even blink. She just rolled her eyes and said, oh, you know Leo, he's just being dramatic. He tripped at the library, Dad. He's so clumsy. It's actually kind of embarrassing. She smiled, a bright, perfect white smile. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. I walked over to the shop door and I pulled the heavy iron bolt. Clack. He didn't trip, Maya, I said. My voice was a whisper, but it filled the room. And you aren't your mother's daughter right now. You're his granddaughter. You're exactly like the man I spent 20 years trying to forget. She laughed. That arrogant, sharp, I'm better than you laugh. What are you gonna do, Dad? Give me a lecture? Or are you gonna call the cops on your own perfect girl? I didn't lecture. I showed her exactly what happens when you think you're the biggest predator in the room. I didn't hit her. I'm not him, but I destroyed the world she built on my dime. I grabbed her phone, smashed it under my work boot until the screen was dust, and handed her a single black trash bag. Everything I paid for. The car, the tuition, the designer clothes, the rent. It's over. It's gone, I told her. You want to act like a thug? You want to use your hands to hurt people? Go live like a thug. She screamed. She went into a blind rage. She threw a heavy wrench at my head. She missed by an inch. She looked exactly like the man who used to beat my mother. Same eyes, same hate. I watched her walk down the driveway in the pouring rain, carrying a bag of wet clothes, screaming curses at me until her voice went hoarse. People ask me why I haven't spoken to my only child in 6 months. They tell me family is everything. They tell me I'm being too harsh. But they're wrong. Character is everything. I might have failed as a father, but I refuse to be an accomplice to a monster.